I was hoping for a big Ricigliano reunion. So you've satisfied my dreams. This is exactly what I was hoping to do. My name is Anna Weiss, in case any of you are wondering. For how many of us is this the first time that we're here at the... Wow, well, welcome to all of you. This is exciting. You'll come to learn that we have a lot of things going on here at the Italian Cultural Center. Besides cultural activities such as this and an annual authors event where we invite Italian American authors locally and even outside the Chicago area to come and talk about their books and present their books. We also have archives. We archive almost anything that comes into our view as being Italian American. We have an art gallery on the second floor, the north wing, and right above this floor we have a nice exhibit of Italian American immigration to the United States and to Chicago specifically. And then also on the third floor, a special treat is we have a 1:100 scale model of the Vatican, built by sculptors, all in wood, exact replica of the Vatican, by father and son duo of Italian sculptors, Attilio and Lucio Savoia. Anyway, my name is Anna Weiss, as I was mentioning. I'm a volunteer here at Casa, Italia, as are my colleagues, Jason Coleman, who is plays prominently in our IT and also in our publication department. We're I don't want to say in the business of publishing, because it's not a business. We're non-for-profit, but he's been instrumental in our publishing efforts. And Ross DiMarco, who is works in our audio archives and is our barista, makes a really wonderful espresso. So please help yourselves to an espresso. And Martin Gesso, who has written his own family history and will be speaking a little bit today. So, and there are many others that you don't see today who come and volunteer. We're here open to the public on Wednesdays from 1 to 5 and on Saturdays from 10 to 2. So we welcome you to come at any time and visit with us. Part of our mission, but our mission here at Casa Italia is to save our stories. And we don't just pay lip service to that, we mean it. What do we mean by that? Well, genealogical research is big. People have been getting down to their roots, and root travel and root tourism is big, but it's not enough to trace your genealogy. It's important to tell the stories of those people that you research, whether they're people you know or people that you just learned about. And we're really big on that here at the Italian Cultural Center, so much so that will help you write your story. We have several genealogy events, and we're also help the public in publishing their family history through Amazon, which is free. So as I mentioned, Jason Coleman has been instrumental in that and guiding you. We published amongst these 3 volumes that I'm going to show you, Italian Women in Chicago, Volume 1, which tells the stories of several Italian American women who have lived in Chicago. We're in the process of publishing the Volume 2. Also, as I mentioned, Martin Gesso recently published his own family history through Amazon and published by the Italian Cultural Center, Casa Italia. And Dominic Candeloro, our director, published his own family history, which he put, was it last year that he published this?
Just finished, recently. I think early this year, finished up, I think.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate he couldn't be here today. This is, we owe quite a bit to him. This is the first time, I'll have to make a confession, the first time we're flying solo. Our first event without him, so you'll have to let us know how we do. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Martin Gesso, one of our volunteers, and thank you all for coming. After our talk and after Nick Pintozzi's talk, we'd like to invite you to visit many of our museums, and also across the parking lot is the Italian American Veterans Museum, and they're open from 10 to 2 as well today. So thank you all for coming, and please stay for a reception afterwards, and thanks again. Martin?
Thank you, Anna. Well, it's great to be here. Dominic is going to be sorry for not being here. This is really amazing. It's gone beyond what we expected, really, to see this really a family reunion of all of you. Anna mentioned about the work that we do here at Casa Italia. It's very important that you think of in which ways you can contribute by giving objects that are important for you, that tell about the story of both of the immigrants or their descendants. Anything that you might think that would be great. Once you visit on the second floor the Italian American exhibit, which has a lot of material, very, very important. One thing that I wanted to mention for this particular year that we are in, the Italian government has created a program that is called Italia, like Italy, but with an E instead of the I. Italia, there's a webpage, italia.org. What is the goal of this program is to contact Italians or their descendants living abroad with their hometowns back in Italy, with the idea that many people that travel to Italy go to, where do they go to? Rome, Florence, Venice, Naples, Palermo probably. But so it's just a matter of establishing a contact with the mayor of the town of where your parents, grandparents were born, and then work on trying to find how they can help you to make your visit more interesting and search for your roots. It's called il turismo delle radici. Okay? So it's very important to check on that. Well, I've never been to Ricigliano, but my wife's great-grandparents were born just 10 miles from Ricigliano, but on the Basilicata side. So I've been to the town, which is called Tito. It's really a beautiful place. The mountains. When I was reading Nick's second book, I really felt like I was literally there. How families receive you, and the hospitality and the customs and the traditions. Even for them, each village is a different world in a sense, has their own characteristics. But so I'm glad to have been close to Ricigliano in a sense. So without further delay, Nick is going to share with us his Ricigliano memories.
Buongiorno, Originesi. Oh, good morning, Riggies. First, I want to thank Casa, Italia for inviting me over and for sending and sponsoring a Riggi reunion, which is a wonderful idea. I have to thank Dominic Candelero. He's a terrific resource for Italian Americans, and you've seen from the books in the library here and his other efforts to promote Italian Americans. Wonderful. I also have to thank Anna Weiss. She coordinated. I'm coming from Arizona. It's a little distance, and 50 degrees, I think it was 108 in Tucson. I'm about 100 miles south of Phoenix, about 55 miles north of Mexico. So it's a change here. I was born in Chicago, Mother Cabrini Hospital, and I was raised in Chicago. So I'm a Riggi. What is it about Riggi? First of all, Ricigliano or Rigliano dialect. We call it Rigliano. But the Società Alleanza Riglianese was a society, the Alliance of Riglianese, and my dad was the treasurer. He worked with it. My sister-in-law's dad, Bill Lacullo, was the president. And so Charles Pintozzi, my father, and Bill Lacullo were the two of them for years with the Arizonans. They put on an annual banquet that was really something. Tremendous orchestra, music, the works. It was a tremendous turnout. When I was growing up as a boy, Ricigliano, what in the world was Ricigliano? My father was born 2 centuries ago. Yep, 1899 he was born. And he came to America in the 1920s, and he married an Italian-American woman, and we lived in the near south side, 24th place, right off of Wentworth in Chinatown. We had a building there. I was, I don't know, 10, 11 years old. Let's say the Korean War armistice was 1953. Realized there was peace. General Eisenhower was elected president. What a time. A 10-year-old, 11-year-old boy comes out of his building, out of his door, and the Ferris wheel is there. He walks up the street a little bit, there's music coming. It's the merry-go-round over there. Walks in everything, Italian sausages are on the grill. A carnival right on your street. My brother Charles, his birthday was September 13th, which was frequently coinciding with the festival, the Festa, and he thought it was a celebration for him. I don't blame it. All of these people enjoying themselves, laughing. This was Ricigliano on the near south side. And of course, it wasn't just on 24th Place. Riciglianese were also on Ridge Avenue and the near north side. The Lacullos and the Pintozzis and Lacullos actually wound up, my brother Charles married a Lacullo gal, who's right here. You can raise your hand, Rose. And, you know, this mystique, like, your dad is telling you there's a place that they came from in Europe. Remember my dad came in the 1920s. We're talking about, let's go back to like 1820s. Italy, really struggling. Farming is bad. Okay, this is the first exodus of people from Ricigliano. They get on a sail ship. We're talking in Naples, and we're talking 3 months to arrive in the United States. 3 months. I mean, just the thought of that is something. Okay, we fast forward to the 1890s, 1900, the early part of it. The next big exodus of Italians, there was progress. It was a steamship that took Italians from Naples. They could get to Ellis Island in 10, 11 days. Wait a minute, what were those 10 or 11 days like? They weren't quite on the Queen Mary crossing the ocean. It was an experience. And then when they arrived in Ellis Island, there was another experience, quite a different one. I'm sure you heard about the stories of our ancestors being inspected and having to undergo multiple examinations, and in many cases names were changed, misspellings. I know we pronounce my name Pintozzi. In Italy they would say Pintozzi. Mi chiamo Nicola Pintozzi. My name is Nick Pintozzi when it's translated in English. But after Ellis Island, they had to be oriented in a large city. And of course we had New York City, we had Chicago, we had Newark. Our ancestors sacrificed for us. I mean, let's be honest about this. It wasn't the bed of roses, and of course all immigrants have to go through something like this. But they persevered, so we definitely owe them for what they have done. We sure appreciate them. But it's not that I want to have like a bucket list of going to Ricigliano. There's Ricigliano in your mind, what you're thinking of it. This is like something other than, can you go home again to your original homeland? And I tell you, the answer is yes. And it exceeded my expectations. I was there last year, I had been in Italy before. I was in the service, military service, and I got within 40 miles of Ricigliano, and I couldn't get a bus connection to get me over there. It was so frustrating. So I thought I was never going to get there. So last year, I did manage to get there, and I was expecting a rural area, I don't know, maybe open fields, cinders, maybe chickens going around. You see the old movies, you know, and maybe Italians just sort of head down, you know, walking along. No, you get there and there's a lot of concrete buildings. There's a reason why. In November 1980, a massive earthquake hit southern Italy. It was the most calamitous disaster in southern Italy in history, recorded history. They had 2,700 people dead, 7,700 injured, 250,000 homeless. Now we're talking in Ricigliano, 22 people, okay. However, you're talking a population of like 11 or 1,200. If you took Chicago's population in 1980 of about 3 million, you're talking 60,000 Chicagoans would have been killed in a comparable earthquake. So this was a devastating blow to them. They had to rebuild. The Italian government had to step up. So a lot of the houses there are concrete. But the people are not walking around with their heads down at all. First of all, I sent a letter to a Pintozzi. It turned out it was Vita Antonia Pintozzi was her name. She owns the furniture store there. I sent another letter to Vita Lacullo, who's the daughter of a Serritella, the Italian salami producer. And I contacted him first and said I was coming. I was coming with my great nephew and his wife Cindy, and they are here. there's Nick Milano and Cindy Milano came with us, and we drove in. The sign said Ricigliano. It was like it's just a regular road sign, but when you see it, you're there. Somehow you've reached this place that your parents have talked about, and you've gone to banquets and you've met other Riggies, and so you're there, and you go in. And we managed to connect with the people. We had our very first day, we were there, and they have a procession. It turned out it was the annual feast of St. Peter the Apostle. This is the parish there in Ricigliano. And we were right there as the statue came by. And you could just reach out. I mean, like Cindy was right there. They had their cell phones, I mean, like 15 feet from us or 10 feet from us. And then they went farther down, and then fireworks came off from the sky. The first night we were there, I mean, it wasn't for honor of us, but the timing was wonderful. And then they all proceeded to this open air, like a community center-ish place. This was their dance and the band. They had I think it was a 5-member band or whatever. And a great turnout. About half of all Ricigliano was there. They have about 1,200 people. I think it was probably, maybe at least 250 or 300. But we were early. You know, they started about 9 o'clock at that. For them, lunch time in Ricigliano is you don't run out to the fast food place, get your hamburger, and then stop at Walmart, pick up the tools you're supposed to get. Wait a minute. It's different. It's riposo, the Italian siesta. You're at your home, you're having a meal, an actual meal with family members. You can see nephews, kids, of course your family members, your parents, and relax a little bit before you have to go back and do your jobs and that. But the pace of this is so different, and the foods, of course, you have pasta again, you have our familiar meals, but holy cows, what a difference. And I remember I went to a small restaurant and I was gonna get a salad. I thought, like a 10-minute lunch or something. I figured they'd have it ready-made in the freezers, take it out, put it, no, wait a minute, I'm there 15 minutes, what's going on? They come out with the salad and it has the warm cooked eggs, it has the actual green lettuce. It was a huge bowl. I was just amazed. The bread was warm. The flavors, is it a different atmosphere? I don't know, you're in the mountains? Maybe. But there's something about this. And then the water, wait a minute. San Bernardo, water bottle, that San Bernardino, and then San Paulo. I kept noticing all these waters are named after saints. And I asked somebody, he said, we're blessed to have good water. It was just the names of the bottles, but it was different. And then the gelato, oh man. I'm in Arizona, I got gelato, it was like an ice ball. I mean, it was just ice creamish with the ice, not the same. In Italy, the flavor is just so smooth and almost any of the different ones that you would order, you'll notice a difference. In Chicago area, they got some ones that probably give Italy a good run for the money, I bet. But just wait till you get over there. How many people here have been to Ricigliano? An excellent number, great. So you kind of get an idea of what's going on. We met Vita Lacullo and her parents, and she had 2 young boys, and we had lunch at the Serritella. We had, of course, Serritella, and we had some cheeses, and they had homemade wine, and I guess about a dozen of us all together, including us and that. And Nick helped out with our translation. We're not all great with, especially me. I'm not all great with Italian, but Nick helped out. We had your phone on the translator, trying to communicate back and forth. We did pretty good. But just we're talking about distant cousins, and we're trying to figure out our connections. And it isn't always easy to see who was married to who. It traced back to maybe like 1840, 1820. You find out that somebody, and then the amazing thing is, wait a minute, Pintozzi, Serritella, lacullo, Caponigri. These names are familiar. You keep seeing these names in the connections. Colombo, all these different names, and wait a minute. We're all related to these people. If you go to Ricigliano, as some of you have gone, there's probably somebody there that knows somebody that you've gone with. We were at the piazza talking to a gentleman. It turned out he was a Mecha, and my mother's family is Mecha. So there was another distant relatives, and with Vita Antonia, the furniture gal, she had us at her house, and we had a 7-course dinner that she made. Here's this woman, I think like 80-ish, let's say general, yeah, whipping up this stuff in her kitchen. Great house, by the way. And she says, any of you people that are out there, you can come and visit Vita Antonia. She'll put you up. She's got like, I don't know how many bedrooms, but the house seems to go on. You keep walking, furniture everywhere, and including just chickens downstairs at one of there's an alcove like it. Anyway, you're at her place, and she's gives us these buffalo mozzarella. These cheese balls, they're like a snowball or like a pillow, like a puff. Really tasty stuff. And buffalo mozzarella is like world famous. And Campania, that's the region Ricigliano is. They are known for that, and they're also known for the Serritella, Campania area. That sausage is. What a difference on the sausage. It's got the flavor. It's not oily at all like the U.S. processed, meat. Just terrific. And then there's also the San Marzano tomatoes. This stuff is, there's something called a margarita pizza. I've heard of it. I never had one until I got to Italy. And it's got the San Marzano tomatoes, all these other ingredients. By the way, if you aren't hungry and you're going to read these books, you're going to get hungry. I've got food. I don't have recipes, but I got ingredients. And we have 4 main characters in the story. The main character is Tony Romano. He's, at the first book, he's 33 years old, a ladies' man, extremely handsome. You can see his illustration here. A knockout guy, but hasn't been married. He's been proposed to, hasn't found the right gal. And his great aunt is Maria Romano, a spinster, and she's known as Aunt Zia, even though Zia means aunt. She's called Aunt Zia. And at one time she was a bookbinder in Chicago. She's still in Chicago, and had become the matchmaker in the neighborhood. The internet came, there's online dating, so she's too much competition, but she has one more match to make before she retires, and that's going to be Tony. So the first story has Tony's birthday, his 33rd birthday, and he gets in the mail a package from his great aunt, including a photograph of an Italian-American bombshell that his great aunt has picked out for him. She's Conchetta. She hates the name. She likes candy instead. So think like a young Sophia Lorenish, maybe. And that's supposed to be the gal he's going to marry. And Conesca mi I polli. I know my chickens. There's like about 50 Italian sayings in this book. You're going to wonder what in the world is. I know my chickens. As Zia is saying, I know what I'm doing. I know when I pick out the right ones. And Zia also has the ability, la fiamma della passione. She can see the flames of passion in the eyes of the people she's matching up. If she picks out two people and she doesn't see the flames like in one of them, well, it's not going to work. But she sees the flames of passion in Tony's eyes on FaceTime. So what does this mean? Well, we got to have some twists and turns for you guys to figure out. But let's just, we're not going to be spoilers here. It's not going to be Candy that he's going to go with. Instead, the other main character is a horse ranch gal in Arizona, and she trains horses and works with her family. And she's 23, and she's graduated from the University of Arizona, and she's the youngest in the family. She has two older brothers in her family, and her mother and her father had founded this horse ranch in Arizona. And the father has passed away. It was a riding accident. He passed away, so Jeannie, as she's called in the book, Jeanie, has to step up to graduate school. She's going to help become like a co-ranch manager. So, of course, Jeannie and Tony are going to meet in the story. But it goes on beyond that. We have Aunt Zia, of course, and then we have the mother of Jeannie, and it's her 60th birthday in the story, in the first book. And the second book is a continuation 4 years later. Okay, the first book is early 2019. There's no pandemic. Nobody's wearing masks. You have a romantic comedy. People could actually, kiss each other. We're talking G-rated, these books, and there's no heck in the story. You could actually have a story without having bank robberies, language, other, let's say R and hard R. You could actually have fun with the characters. And you could have an aunt who's kind of wacky, but means well. She's kind of a meddler, but as we go along in the story, you'll see how the different things change. And the Italian-American customs are expressed in the story. You have a great aunt who wants him to marry, a Catholic Italian gal, non-Catholico, which is, but he is a Christian, So all of this is part of the story. And it's got the ranch combinations with it. There's a illustration. It's got from the book. You'll see some paintbrushes. Jeannie is also an amateur artist and does paintings. And one of the paintings is a key to the story. It connects with the story. The back of the book has got the illustration from the 1950s. So this book says, Remember, Love, Smile, there's the title. Memories of 1950 Chicago spur romance in 2019 Arizona. What? It does. You'll have to look at it. It turns out that Zia's brother has passed away and had typewritten memories from 1950s Chicago. And he had not shown these to anybody. And his sister finds these in the house. And she sends these to Tony as part of his birthday, hoping that this will be an inspiration for him, to connect with the Italian-American gal. Of course, best laid plans don't work out. But this illustration is from a painting by my sister, Anna Maria. And Anne Marie Sina, And this is just an inset from it. Downtown Chicago, 1950s, has the streetcar, the Green Hornet, Chicago Theater, of course. The marquee says Frank Sinatra. He did actually appear there after the war. And my sister here is here. It's Anne Marie, seen it? And she's also, we're painting a second book, which is the statue, the replica of the original statue in Ricigliano. And now tomorrow, this statue is coming out, the Festa in Chicago, Santa Maria Incarnata, and it's the 127th year. If you can, you're invited to come. Jim DeStasio, the president of the club Santissima, the sponsors of this thing, he can't make it today, but on behalf of him and the other club members, you're all invited to come. And the mass is going to be at 11 o'clock, and this is at the former Santa Maria Incarnata Church, which now is St. Teresa Catholic Chinese American Church. And that's just off of Wentworth, is Alexander, 26th Street. You can't miss it once you are on Wentworth, or right over there. And 1897, the statue carved from a pear tree, came from Naples. You had this neighborhood I was talking about, Carnival in the Street. 1959, Dan Ryan Expressway came, houses were taken out, the whole neighborhood was disrupted. People had to move, I had to move my parents, other family members. So in 1959 that happened, and look at the number of years since then till now, and Ridgies are still going down there, and they're still observing the Blessed Mother, the Feast of the Blessed Mother, the Christ show. And another thing, those who have gone to Ricigliano and have gone to see the original statue, it's a connection. It's really impressive. I mean, you are connected to this place, thousands of miles away, never been there, and you've been told about it, and you finally got to go there. And it's really a experience, much better than a bucket list. You have history, you have family members who come from there, other ancestors that come from there. So I definitely want to encourage people for the festa, if they can make it tomorrow. The procession will go through the neighborhood after the Mass, and we'll go all the way up to the White Sox Park, and then they'll have an Italian dinner at the church about 5 o'clock afterwards. So you're all welcome to go to that. The second book has the members of the family. There's Tony, there's Jeannie, the knockout, and there's Zia. I'll pass around these little cards. This kind of is a sneak. You can zip it around and say you got some going that way. I'll send some around this way. So you got the map in the background. We have the illustrator did those yellowish flags. You got Venice, you got Rome, and then the red flag is Ricigliano. When you get to it, Ricigliano is about 200 miles from Rome. So we're not talking, this is a major sightseeing site. You're not going to see the Trevi Fountain. Wait a minute, what am I talking about? You can get on a bullet train. We're talking, if you can get from Ricigliano on a rental car, hour's trip to Salerno, get on a bullet train, you can go to Rome. In fact, in the story, the characters go for a 6-7 hour scenic trip, like a tourist trip to Rome on the same day. These train connections are fantastic in Italy. Or you can take your rental car to Salerno and get on that bullet train and go all the way up to Florence. You can do Florence and Venice as an overnighter, which they do in the story. Or you can continue on your rental car, go through Salerno and continue on to the Amalfi Coast. I mean, if you go in the high season, it's going to be interesting because there's thousands of people down there, but it's an amazing area. I mean, it's one of the most it's one of the most scenic drives you can take. Waterfalls, cliffs, the water works, and you got all these different towns you can stop at. Travelogue, just the whole coastline has spots you can connect as you go along, all the way across to Naples, and then you can come back. You can do this on a day trip. You have to leave at dawn, but it's doable. So in a way, you're isolated, but not really. It's about, like I said, an hour's drive from Salerno up to the mountains. It's not really steep. You don't really feel like you're climbing in Colorado or anything. But when you're up there and you start walking around, you notice there's mountains everywhere. You notice the air is a little different. Of course, the flavors I mentioned of the foods, you notice that. But the one thing you're going to notice is the people. I think that's what made the difference to me in the trip. On our trip, we did Ricigliano, but we also did, in the story, also has taken you to Venice, takes you to Florence, takes you to Rome, all terrific places. But are you going to have lunch with a Roman couple? You might be able to if you have a relative or other connections. And, sit down, is somebody in Venice going to serve you a 7-course dinner? And maybe you have a relative of there. So it's certainly different. I mean, the experiencing the people, meeting with them, seeing the welcome nature, and being told that you're welcome. And if you have relatives here, encourage them to come. They'd be welcome also. And those who haven't gone to Ricigliano and can, it's a can-do trip. In our case, we left Tucson, Arizona, and we flew west. Wait a minute. Yep. Tucson, you fly Tucson to Los Angeles, board Italia Italian airliner, and fly across Canada, the Arctic, Greenland, come across into Europe, crossing over Ireland and England, and you come to Italy. I didn't see the ocean. I was looking out the window. I kept seeing land, and trees and stuff. Different route. And then we had our connections, land at the Rome airport. You got to get a shuttle, takes you across, and you connect with the bullet train. So from Tucson to Ricigliano arriving was 33 hours according to the watch. That includes the time change. If you're coming from Chicago and United, you probably can get a different flight, take you across. But the flights, our team was talking about the resources that are available. I tell you, Casa Italia can connect you maybe with some of these other ones, and the communities in Italy are hoping to promote visitors and tourism. So it's doable, and you can try to contact relatives of similar names, or you can maybe talk to some other relatives that know somebody, or in cases that people here have actually gone over, maybe they can help you make connections. But really, when you get there, even if you can't speak fluently with them, I think they're going to welcome you. If you're a lacullo, by the way, it's Jacobo. They pronounce, everything's pronounced different. Pintozzi, you have some different pronunciations maybe of your name, but they're going to be welcomed. And just spending some time with some people that have stayed in Italy. We had a population of maybe 3,600 Arizonans, and then after all this turmoil they went through, we're talking now about 1,200 people are still there. Not all of the paisans could have left when they did. Ones who did, we commend them, and we're thinking about the stages they went through. At one time, the paisans were in charge of the newsstands in Chicago in the Loop, and there was all kinds of Italians running the newsstands, and they branched out into different careers and all different professions. They're going out. Of course, they married non-Italians. We're all Americans. Okay, we get that. But wait a minute. Italian Americans. What does it mean to be an Italian American? I mean, I thought about it. In the story, Tony gets offered by the way, he has one of the most challenging positions in the world right now in the story. He is a school teacher teaching American history at a high school in the United States. Boy, I don't know. No one wants to know about history, American history. All right, so Tony is hanging in there. He's been in there several years in the position. Now he's being offered University of Arizona position to teach in the Italian Studies program at Arizona. And truth, the Italian Studies program is one of the larger ones in the country. So part of his visit to Italy is to make his decision on that. Aunt Zia is dealing with arthritis. By the way, she's 93 at this point, but don't tell her that. I got this gal is a force of nature, a little, pint-sized dynamo kind of thing, and still with her Italian sayings, you'll have a bunch of those there. She's going to Italy and thinking, well, maybe there's something in the air, something in the water that can help with the arthritis. Well, it's not the air or the drinking water, but something's going to come up with her. Then you've got Jeannie, fantastic gal, a horse rider, instructor, successful as a co-ranch manager. She's 27 now. There's something that she wants to accomplish. Her brothers are parents. There's 4 grandchildren for the mother, and Jeannie's having trouble with motherhood. They've gone through different treatments and tried different methods, no success. She needs a break from all these medical clinic visits, so Ricigliano sounds great, but maybe something surprising, maybe something miraculous. We'll see. And then we have the mother, 64, gorgeous. She's like Jeannie, of course, she's has a radiance from Scotch-Irish, I guess, background. And the mother's going to Italy, romantic country. Wow, I mean, she, of course, was devoted to her husband. It's been 6 years. Is it a possibility it could be a romance? Can you have a novel about Italy but no romance in it? No, I don't think so. Got to have a romance. So there we go. She's going to meet someone in Italy, and this guy is Rocco Donati, and he is a 60-ish guy, but wow. This is, he's described as a cross between Richard Gere in Pretty Women and the Italian director in Cinema Paradiso. Another, they have like this silverish hair, and he's been known as the La Volpe Argentata, the silver fox. And in this story, he's had a lifetime of being a bachelor, and well, we'll have to see what happens at that point. But again, mixing up a lot of these cultural influences and stories. So explaining histories and explaining Italian American influences in an entertaining way. I want to inform you, and I want to have you appreciate what's going on. There is a 106-year-old in the story in Ricigliano, and there's a 102-year-old guy. And I'll tell you, like this Vita Antonia is in her 80s, a real spark plug. There were people in their 90s and 95. There wasn't any nursing homes over there. People came out of their flats and their apartments. They came to the piazza. There was card playing. You had, there were some hills you had to go negotiate, but it's a much different atmosphere. And a senior citizen over there is much appreciated, is apparently basically tolerated too often here in the U.S. So our characters in the story, I got them. There's also the grandchildren of the ranch gal's mother. They're in the story. There's all different ages, trying to appeal across cultures and across ages of the populations. So we got, in this case, one of the characters is a goat, His name is Fumo. This was a drawing by Jeannie of him, and he is the outcast in Ricigliano. He was, when he was a kid, he's a billy goat, so a kid would be a juvenile. He was caught eating cigarette butts. So he was called Fumo, smoke in Italian. And he's in this, he's not gonna talk, oh, come on. But, but he's prominent. Of course, there are goats in Italy. Every June 15th, there's a running of the goats. Okay, we're not talking the running of the bulls, no one's gonna dodge these guys. But every June 15th is the feast of San Vito in Italy. He's the patron saint of these animals. There's the chapel of San Vito, and the goats are assembled, they take them out, and they're lined up around by the chapel, and then they're able to go, they can run around, there's like almost like a course, they can come around, and this is filmed. You can look on the internet and see the goats running around, and they're dressed up in outfits. They have hats, some of them, they have like scarves, they have some of the washable paint, markings on them. And Fumo, who's an outcast, has been able to crash this event in recent years, but they spot him there on the videotape, so he's really kind of banished. He's 9 years old in the story, so he's an old goat. Who wants to live with an old goat? So he has wandered the countryside, and he comes across this runner one morning, and it's this young athletic guy, good-looking guy, and Fumo headbutts his shoes. And this is Tony, of course, and then we have a relationship being started with that. So that's another little story, but I put that in as that's part of the culture there. We're talking still basically agriculture community, and we're talking over 3,000 years. How has this place managed to continue and to thrive? We're talking about famines, droughts, we're talking about world wars, we're talking about the Italian all the disruptive political system. By the way, there's no politics in this story. No politics. No. So the people, and they've handed down this philosophy of going forward and dealing with life and trying to continue on an upbeat, and that's part of our stories. And upbeat stories, there's good news in Italy. I want to mention have a nephew here is Michael Johnson over here. He just was in Ricigliano a couple of months ago. He made a visit, but
there were people in Ricigliano. Several people have been in Ricigliano.
I want to say that
recently.
That Michael said that he was noticed that it was clean. When I got there, I didn't know what to expect. Tucson, we got some problems with the trash and trash areas. I didn't see a candy wrapper anywhere. Wait a minute. I looked around. It was really clean, and the roads are paved. Oh my God, we got such potholes in Tucson, and the autostrada over there is smooth. It was so surprising. I do say though, when you rent a car, watch out. I've never seen so many rental cars return with scratches. They run against the guardrails and they do other things. So take pictures of your rental car when you go down there before you return it back in. But other than that, and then if you're driving, you may want to think about Naples twice. But otherwise, I think you can get along driving okay. But you don't really need a car. You got those bullet trains to take you. You can go to Rome, go off to Venice, go off to Florence. Also, if any of you people are film buffs, Tony is a film buff, so the reference to Richard Gere and Pretty Woman, there's, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 movies that are recovering this. The Three Coins in the Fountain, of course, from the 1950s, and Trevi Fountain. You have to do Trevi Fountain, but oh man, the crowds are something you go in the high season. The Isle of Capri, the Blue Grotto. You people been to the Blue Grotto? Yeah. It's 5 minutes, but a lifetime of memories. So, memories, in our case, our family storybook. My wife Connie Pintozzi was talking to dear niece, Rose Sacchetti, about stories, and this came out of it. We have my two brothers passed away in recent years, Anthony Tony Pintozzi and Chuck Pintozzi, and they were our storytellers. Boy, when you lose your storytellers, it's really something. I encourage all of you, as Martine mentioned and Dominic mentioned, family memories are important. Family stories, write those down, pass those on to your kids, grandkids, and you can even, like in this case, the family storybook, you can turn these into Casa, Italia. They'll put in their archive. These paintings by Anne are from her book, Growing Up Italian in Chicago, and her book is in Casa Italia in their library system. If you get a chance, you can look at those. So I'm going to wrap it up. Now, one more plea. You are an Italian American. Be proud of it. Be mindful of the sacrifices your ancestors did. Honor that. Pass on the good word to your descendants. And enjoy life. And speak some Italian words now and then. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Nick. Please come back, because I'm sure there will be questions for you. Anyone who wants to ask Nick anything? Yes?
I was in Ricigliano 40 years ago. And when I went, I met only one person who was my age. I'd gone in the summer. And she was there on the summer holiday visiting her family because her husband worked up in Torino, in Turin. There were no jobs in Ricigliano, in Calabria, anywhere for young people. So it was kind of like the entire town's like a retirement village. Is it still like that? Has there been any economic development in the South so that the younger people can stay in their towns, or do they have to go, to Milan or Germany or wherever to work?
This young lady back there is a dear niece, Barbara Pintozzi Brown. And
I know Brown. I never changed my name.
In the family storybook, there's a section Barbara recounts. She was in her student days. She was over there in Rome, and there's a good section on that. And the time you were there was not that long after 1980 and the earthquake and the rebuilding and the trauma from all that. Now, population is still elderly. In fact, Italy as a whole is the fastest growing elderly population. So wait a minute, is that bad or good? You have people 100 years old going around. I don't know. Anyway, that's the connection. But now they're I don't know, should I spill beans in the story?
No.
There's a 21st century Ricigliano going on. You may not know about it. There's giant wind energy farming in the Ricigliano area in Basilicata, the province next to it. Campania, the Ricigliano, it produces 15% of the wind energy in Italy. Not that long ago, they only had a few dozen of these wind farms. Now they have thousands. It's just a major operation. The story gives you the exact figures on the millions of dollars invested, employment opportunities. One of the characters is connected with the wind farming. You drive outside of Ricigliano, oh my God, suddenly Michael can tell you about the area of Basilicata and up there. Wasn't it like miles, you told me?
I was surprised, let's put it that way. I went unannounced to Ricigliano on a Saturday, maybe 6-7 weeks ago. And unannounced means there was nobody really there, right? There wasn't a welcoming committee or not, or what have you. We were surprised. He mentioned that I told him it was clean, it was refreshing. Because over the years, growing up in Little Italy and, you know, hearing the folks talk about Rigigliano, it wasn't always in a positive context. I was totally surprised that it was probably the cleanest stop on the whole journey there. And the people were very optimistic, very pleasant. Unfortunately, we only got to stay because I hadn't made plans, but I had to go there because I was down in Salerno visiting that particular area with my kids. I've got a couple of younger boys. And when we departed Rigigliano, we were flying out of Pescara to the Munich area where, you know, I have another residence there. And we drove, I had a rental car. And I was so surprised at the renewable energy. These windmills, you know, it just took me aback. Because miles and miles and miles, and all over the place as far as you can see. I don't know if anyone's ever driven down I-65 towards Indianapolis where you see these forever, so it appears, but you're driving at 70. I mean, I drove for probably, I don't know, 75, 80 kilometers, almost 50 miles, and as far as you could see, there's these renewables. And as Nick, he's not exaggerating, and I'm not. It was, naturally, it was up and down as we're going through the Apennino, you know what I'm saying, smaller mountains, but I was totally unaware before I got there that we were going to see this. But,
And these
big
windmills are
investments. Big
enormous. I
investments.
mean, you know, don't think like Holland or something. You're talking about things, the Statue of Liberty, you know, so you're looking at a distance off in the mountains, so you're seeing this. If you ever got close to it, how enormous these things are and how heavy they are.
Yeah.
And the blades are just like 80 feet, you know, long or something. Just, I mean, amazing. But the economy is really something in southern Italy after the devastation of the earthquakes, after the other problems they've had, going through the world wars. This is really something that's helping them. They've got young people. There are young people. We had the two toddlers of the Sorpresetta family were there, two young boys, and of course at the dance there were other people there. We're not talking you know, thousands of young people, but there's still young people, and the children, they can go to the limited school in Ricigliano, but there's more schooling about 6 miles away in San Gregorio Magno. That's about 4,000 people at that mountain place. And we stayed at a vacation house in San Gregorio Magno and then commuted back to Ricigliano, met with people in Ricigliano. And there's other little towns all around there. I'm talking Riggies, but I'm also saying that Italian Americans from other towns, Potenza, all the other communities, there would be welcome to go to their ancestral homelands in Italy. Casa Italia is promoting this, and the Italian communities are encouraging tourism. And so if you're thinking of a trip to Ricigliano or wondering about it, you can, I'm sure, contact Casa Italia. They put you in connection with somebody else. But yeah, the economy is something. They're going, and God bless them all. Yeah.
The economy's pretty bad. I was just there too. That's the reason why everybody came here.
Originally, yeah.
And now, most of the people, there's easier transportation than there used to be. They're working in other cities. And they come back to their homeland. A lot of them keep farmland. And then they retire and they become shepherds. And my family anyway. But the economy's really poor. I have a cousin, matter of fact, he lives in Battipaglia. And that's one thing too, when you say these towns, the Riggies are not only in Ricigliano. And when you talk Basilicata, years ago, and at the Pintozzi seems know for sure, that was called Miro Lucano. Miro Lucano, did you ever hear of Miro Lucano? That's where that was what the area was called prior to them becoming a state. And it's the same area. My grandmother, the Salvatores, and the Parrillis, they lived in those mountains, and I went to their home where they were born. And it's really not that, you had to walk over a mile to get to their home because the roads were washed out. The economy's not good. The people, I have other cousins too, they work in the other cities, they come back, they do travel a lot back and forth to see their families, but it's really dying. It's been dying over the years, and there used to be 2,500 people there, I think, at the most. And now there's about,
There's actually like about 30,
At the highest?
30,500 at one time. But if you're there, you're not gonna see somebody with a sign that says veteran needs food, needs money. You're not gonna see somebody on the corner lying down, asking for assistance or something rather. The government helps, they really do help the Italian population. The public education's free. The kids that are commuting from Ricigliano can get their middle school and the high school at the next San Gregorio Magno. The old people, what is old? I mean, we're talking like 98, 103 people, 106 people still functioning, going out of they're not in a nursing home, they're not situated in a wheelchair and watching Double Jeopardy or something on TV where they.
there is a new nursing home in Riccigliano, a new, it's only been there for years. Where the school was,
I
okay?
didn't get that far.
Well, where the school was, there's a nursing home now. And so there's a lot of people there, and that created jobs. So quite a few of the people that live there are working in that little,
But I think the emphasis, like I ran into a fellow who, it was perchance, he spoke Adriano, he spoke very good English, had lived in England, he was originally from Ricigliano, and he was 18 years in London, he came back there, he said that he had enough of all of that out there. It was about the quality of life, and I believe that the quality of life
what was the
is-
man's name?
It's Michael
Got it on
Johnson.
my phone here.
What's his last name? No, the man that you,
Oh,
that you're
He was a
talking.
young guy, he was in his 40s, the way it looks like. I
We
know.
met with him too, 2 weeks ago.
Billy,
Did you-
Billy,
No, Adriano and his girlfriend is Bridget. or
Well, I didn't
something.
catch it on,
Brittany, but I
more
didn't
glasses,
get- I
maybe
didn't-
around 6 foot?
Then Colin, then
Yeah, yes.
Martino's.
Adriano Martino.
Is it, weren't you, let me see. I
Oh,
didn't
no,
get-
Tetti, sorry.
Tetty, there you go.
Yes,
Adriana Tetti
he
at
came to
gmail.com,
Chicago, came to-
right?
I know him personally. I was with
You
him.
know the same guy.
His mother is
Yeah.
Dimitri.
Yeah, I met him at the, right across from the city hall, there's like a cafe or.
He's Dimitri. His mother's Dimitri. Gina Dimitri.
They're talking about the same guy.
They're friends.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, he was here in Chicago.
Adriano?
He came, yeah, he came to my, yeah, he was at my restaurant. I had a restaurant in Chicago, which, Ridley's. But he was there with me. He's related to Joe, what's his name, Metcha, that's his cousin. Yes. And his sister. Matter of fact, he's getting married to a Salvatore, my cousin. I just told him. Recently.
did you get a chance to meet the furniture store woman?
Well, the furniture's kind of funny. D'Ambrosio, you know D'Ambrosio, Vito? Vito's father used to build furniture in Riccigliano, that's what he did. He used to take the tree, he'd go get a tree, and he would cut him, he'd say, what do you want? And he would take that tree and build your furniture.
You should check out her. One of the.
Which is, there's a Melpidi that has a window place, and there's a gas station, Salvatore's used to do the iron, several Salvatores. Then they used to have a tie factory there, but the industry is not good.
Well, they left for a reason,
Right,
Right.
of course.
because they were isolated, there was no infrastructure surrounding that area back then. It was,
That's what I was saying, so when you said that, they really don't have a lot of jobs. And that's why my other cousin, I see, comes here all the time. His name is, Ayakula.
he told me they pronounce it Yakula.
Well, some do.
Heard that too. Yes.
Well, I stay with them, and
Yeah.
her mother is a Salvatore. And the other mother is a Melpidi. I go there, matter of fact, I was just there this summer with 15 people from Chicago. We went to Amalfi Coast, and we stayed there's a hotel on Amalfi Coast, and it's owned by somebody from Riccigliano. It's Satira. And so we stayed there for a few days.
I wanted to introduce another person who contributed to the book, Maureen Pintozzi, sitting next to Jean, and just raise your hand. Or
I'm not Italian.
Judy, doesn't she look like your mother?
and
Doesn't she look like your mother? She doesn't resemble your mother?
I'm not Italian. I
She said-
would like to be an Italian.
No,
I
you
think
resemble
I'm
her.
an Italian.
Oh, you're not even Italian?
she's honor.
What's your last name?
Pintozzi.
You know the Galante? You know Galante?
Did
Rose
you bring your
Galante?
books along to buy?
Pintozzi?
Did you
Marie
bring copies of
Pintozzi?
your books for us?
I have a few.
We have a question here.
I have a question. I've been to Ricigliano, I know very un po' Italiano. Do they speak dialect or do they speak Tuscan
I
Italian?
think it's a dialect version of that. I'm sure there are other ones that maybe speak
Funny story.
Romanish or Milan type thing, but basically that's.
When I was there 20 years ago, and I spoke the standard Italian, and at that time I was totally fluent. And the older people spoke the dialect, I couldn't understand them, so this one woman who was there, who was my age, in her 20s, she had to translate everything they said into standard Italian for me to understand them. But I think as the population ages, then, I'm 60 now, so obviously now the people who are in their 60s and 70s, whatever, would have, that, they would not be speaking with the dialect anymore, probably.
All right, let's test you people. What is actually pizza?
What is what?
Pizza.
Pizza?
Pizza. Pizza is actually pizza. All right, what's blenda?
Polenta.
You got it. What's gachafla? Gachafla. Charto. It's
I have
the
another funny
the
story.
leaves with the breaded.
At the risk of offending my niece, you weren't in the picture at that time, Chris. Kathy Esposito Wagner. You have to tell them about when Grandma and Grandpa met you, when they came to visit you in Italy. Start from the beginning.
I spent my junior year abroad in Rome, and we're talking about 1968, a long time ago. My grandfather was Bill Aricallo.
Shujou.
People remember the name. And they came to visit me while I was there, and a friend drove us to Rigigliano, and we get out of the car. I was 20 years old, okay, and here is a band, drums, trumpets, and marched us through the town, the Queen of England. I spoke no Italian, but, and it was, I will never forget it, and the hospitality was unbelievable, even though, as I said, I couldn't speak. And that was right at the time they were bringing the statue to the field. I think they used to bring it back and forth depending on the season. And, it was, I'll never forget it. Like I said, 60 years ago. Almost.
Bill helped out on with the earthquake. The church was damaged, and other buildings, of course. Bill and I call other Italian Americans helped financially. The paisans in Ricigliano, and they sure appreciate it. And this is, of course, you had the early immigrants who came. They sent money back, to their families. That's a tradition that's carried on. The Italian Americans helping, and I was born, like I said, at Mother Cabrini, and I acknowledged her in the books. What a terrific, from Milan originally, and what a great help she was in the United States, and hospitals, schools. The tradition of Italian Americans contributing to the U.S. has been something all along. Everything from, in the case of nuns, you had the teaching nuns, you had, of course, the parishes, you had all kinds of different professions, from Rocky Marciano to all of our other paisans through the years contributing to the U.S. Italian Americans. We have the Casa, Italia here. We have the Veterans Museum also, which is another indication of the contributions Italian Americans have made. So, a lot to be proud of.
So you did say you brought some books?
Yeah, I brought a few books. If people online, I'm not a great salesman, but I hope I'm a good promoter of the Italian American culture. I like to be. That's why I came today. I also want to take part in the festival tomorrow. Michael and I are going down and joining the others for the Santa Maria Incarnata.
I'm actually a club member, I'm the moderator of the Santa Maria Incarnata Club. Tomorrow is our big fest. We're the longest continuous club, or religious club in the city of Chicago. Casa Italia has a wonderful book about all the different feasts, and we're in there. Please come. I know Chinatown is difficult to park, but we do have shuttle buses from the old Italian American Neighborhood Club back and forth. If you can't walk, we're going to be in a car because I have trouble walking. There will be shuttle buses, and we do take our Madonna out with other saints, sometimes Saint Christopher too, and we parade them through the streets. It is, if you've never seen this, it is a slice. And we go all the way to we used to go to Santa Lucia, used to still be open. We'd have the angel little ceremony there. We're not going to do that because the church is now closed. And then we go to St. Jerome. They greet us. It's just beautiful. We walk back. We eat along the way. Sometimes we stop at Riccobeni's. We stop at different places. People have food out for us. There's water breaks. So please try to come because the club, I'm one of the youngest members. As the club ages, we're getting, it's more and more difficult to get people to join, to tell our children about the history. And I'll tell you a real quick story. And I heard this since I've been going, I'm 67. I've been going since I'm a kid. We have gold crowns for our Madonna. Normally it's silver, gold crowns. And I used to hear my grandmother, who was a Parrilli, who lived right across the street from the church, that to make the gold crowns, all the ladies donated their wedding rings, and they melted them down to make these crowns. These crowns, there's one for baby Jesus, I have them on my phone, there's one for the Madonna. And they're just beautiful, and I do the readings of the Mass. I look at these crowns, I look at the baptismal fountains, all the history. My grandmother, my father, my mother were both baptized there, and I see these crowns, and I'm thinking, part of that crown is one of my grandmother's wedding rings. So please come, get involved. If you look on Facebook under it's now Mother Teresa of Calcutta, when they merged with, when they closed down St. Lucy's, they kind of merged. There is a whole story about the church, and all the stained windows are donated by different Italians. You'll probably see one of your family names up there. I laugh because the pastor of the church is Chinese, but we say he's an honorary Italian. We've indoctrinated him. It's a wonderful Mass. It really makes you feel part of your culture and part of your community that's there. And if we don't keep going, they're all going to die out, these fests.
I agree with you.
Okay, we have
I have something I think is
Can
very
I ask you a
interesting.
question? Is the statue carried by manpower?
Pardon me?
Is the statue
It
carried?
used to be because they used to carry them on like a leader, and we used to get a pad to wear, and there'd be 6 guys carrying them, 3 and 3. Now, Jimmy DeStasio, he donated. It's like they push it. Same thing with the chandas. You know, the candelabra chandas. They have those. They can't get girls to roll them. So, or to carry them. Now they're being rolled, because I'm hoping our daughter will be there tomorrow to help roll one of the chain.
It's hard to roll them though. We roll the last.
Yeah.
We have a
Just
question here.
Riccigliano's doing theirs right now.
Very interesting.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is my cousin and he's.
And tomorrow is our Madonna's birthday, September 8th. It falls on the same day. And I can assure you, we'll be singing happy birthday to our saint. So please try to come. If anybody wants to ask me questions, I'll be happy to tell you where to park and where, mass starts at 11. Never right on 11 because we're all talking. But usually close to 11 we start mass.
There's also, okay, we have a question
Mass is
first.
at 11 a.m.
Santa Maria.
It's really interesting.
The church
It's really
back
slow.
in the
Yeah.
1910,
It really is.
1911. My grandparents were married at Santa Maria in Corona.
Then you can come and walk down the aisle, just like you
Finally
can.
found it.
Yeah.
I wanted to
It's a little church.
in the church?
And it is.
I'll see the fountains tomorrow, because they say, okay, my father's little hat is
We had
there.
to go, when we got married, we had to go back and get my baptism.
Yeah. The church is concerned because they're worried about it closing, and I even try to keep it, to talk about, to try to get it preserved, but we may not go there. The address of the church is 218 Alexander, West Alexander. Alexander is a one-way street. If you know where the old Italian American Club is, where is that? He knows.
29th and Shields.
29, there's a parking lot. You can park there, and then there'll be buses that Jimmy DeStasio provides, who's the president of the club, that'll take you back and forth to the church, because I hate to use a symbol, but there is no parking, because we're in a residential area. I mean, there is only permit parking along there. So I hope to see some familiar faces there tomorrow, and think about joining the club.
I missed your name, I'm sorry.
I'm Diane Cernavivo. I'm the moderator of the Santa Maria and Cornata Club.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
And as Diane was saying, we have a book here in
Yes,
our
it's a
archives,
wonderful
a wonderful book, and Terry Quilico, one of our esteemed volunteers, was instrumental in creating that book. And Terry would like to say a few words.
Sure.
I'd like to introduce one of our volunteers, Terry Quilico.
I will be very, very brief. Nick, thank you very much for your presentation. I can't confess to having any Riccigliano in my family, although I might, because my grandfather was from Torino, well, actually a town 30 kilometers outside of Torino, and he was an overseer of his family's farm, and there was a peasant woman who was working the field, and he was on his cavallino, and he said, they fell in love, and he said, I want to marry this woman, and they said, no. And they said, you're disinherited, so they came to the United States. And I don't know what part of southern Italy she was from, so it could be. At any rate, as Anna said, I am one of the archivists and a journalist for Franoi, and I did work with Paul, the editor, on Viva La Festa a few years back, and we covered all the religious festivals in the Chicago and greater Chicago area, actually. But at any rate, if you have visited the museum here, or if you haven't, things have changed. We have the Italian American Veterans Museum in the other building across, which will be open until 2 o'clock. We'll be giving tours here, and we have 2 floors above here. We have the Italians in Chicago room, which had a 2-year renovation recently. It was originally established about 1980s, and we just completed a renovation of the room, 2.5 years. A colleague and I worked on it principally. And we also have a replica of the Vatican, and we have a Swiss guard who guards it. So we don't have anything going on up there by the Vatican. So, and we have the Cadell Art Museum. So there's a lot to see here, and we have people who will be glad to take you around and show you what you have. No elevator, unfortunately, but if you can manage the stairs, I think you would enjoy it.
I got something I think very enlightening to them, because it was to me. Did you know Dr. Mecha, Lawrence Mecha, Donna?
Yeah, a
Okay.
cousin.
And yes, well, he's my cousin too, but anyway, he told me he was with Jimmy Serritella and Bill Lacullo.
sculptor and they went to Italy.
Yeah, well, I know them, and they
Yes.
invited me out to dinner, they took me to dinner. And they told me that the Society of the Originates was promoted by, I can't even think now, the Hull House, Jane Addams.
Oh.
They told me that before he died, because Donald died. And that's why I wanted to tell you people, it's very interesting, because the Hull House, we don't realize, they had that's what Jane Addams did. She tried to help the level of the
Yeah.
Italians. And then it's kind of funny, because somebody else wrote to me about it, and they had the archives of the Hull House. And they have a picture of my uncle when he was baptized. He was a Altieri, and his sponsor was a Stoffa, very no Stoffa. But it's amazing that the Hull House was, my grandfather was president 3 times, and he knows all the people you talk about, he knows well. And, so, I mean, that's the part that's so interesting. We're all family, our ancestors all knew each other.
Another thing, if anybody hasn't seen the movie Cabrini, it's a must. You wanna understand what our grandparents went through,
Oh, yeah.
it's a good picture of it.
We all saw it, right?
Yes,
I think
yeah.
we all saw it here, so thank you.
And the
Thank you all.
Cabrini event is coming up.
A Cabrini event? Oh, the pilgrimage to the shrine, yes. Several of us are taking a bus from here, from Casa Italia. I believe it leaves at 10:30, but I don't know if there are any spots left. There might be. So,
There's two other buses I know. One
there
is-
are,
yeah.
from other,
Yeah.
other locations, so.
So the 15th, next Sunday.
Yes, next Sunday. So- Well, thank you all for coming. Please come again. We have several events planned, and like I said, we're open on Wednesdays from 1 to 5 and Saturdays from 10 to 2. And please visit our museums today and join us for our reception that we have planned and get to know each other. You'd be surprised that you may run into a long-lost relative right here in this room. It's really amazing. Well, thank you all. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.